All right, now we are finished with this chapter on emotional intelligence, and I'm just going to do a quick review for you so that you can remember kind of what we talked about. And don't forget to do your homework because that's really important. Remember, if you do every single exercise, it will prepare you for the next lesson and the next session. Because remember what I said earlier on, we kind of do this circular, linear type of teaching where we learn something new, we come back and pick it up, and we learn something new and pick up the other things too. And so that's why in today's lesson of emotional intelligence, we actually applied it to the timeline of the story of your life. What happens to your brain prior to the age of 25. And so having said that, let's see what we talked about. We talked about multiple intelligence and why that's so important to understand what your multiple intelligence is, because that's where your genius is actually housed. And you know what? Everybody's a genius if they are going to operate in their multiple intelligence, because you're specially gifted to do exactly that thing. And so Albert Einstein said, if a fish spends its lifetime trying to climb a tree, it will be frustrated its whole life. And so that's why some of you are really frustrated, because you're not operating in your multiple intelligence. You're operating in probably another gifting that you might show promise in, but it's really not who you are, and it's not bringing a lot of joy to you. We talked about the composition of the brain, emotional intelligence, where that was, that's in the amygdala, really, or the emotions are in the amygdala, and the prefrontal cortex is in charge of helping us to develop emotional intelligence. And so we got to talk about the two types of brain, what happens in war and peace, what happens with our ability to learn if we are not in the right area, which would be peace in the prefrontal cortex. And so it was important for us to also recognize that we don't have to rescue people. When they are calling us up and calling us back to their war, that's when we get to really exercise those beautiful boundaries and say, no, you know, honestly, I don't think that I'll make things better. I think I'll make it worse. So I think it would be better for you if you just came over here tomorrow. And then we can talk about problem solving and not look at this from a real emotional way, because I don't think it's going to end well if we do. And it's really okay to say that. And you know, in the end, when they're calmed down, they'll thank you for it. Okay? And so we talked about what else, some of the things that we talked about that you enjoyed. We talked about using your non-dominant hand. That's a wonderful way. With neuroscience talks about using the non-dominant hand in order to develop self-control. And I thought that was incredibly fascinating, because if you're a right-handed person, only use your left-handed or use your left hand, you're going to find that after a while it's going to really irritate you. You're going to be like, why am I using my left hand? It doesn't feel comfortable. It is awkward, but it actually is developing another part of your brain that will come in handy to you. And so that's actually really good. And then finally, we talked about our learning styles. And what type of a learner are you? If you know what kind of a learner you are, it's going to help you retain information, remember it, and apply it. And so it's really important for you to think about this and do all these exercises so that you can be very self-aware of not only how you respond emotionally, but also how you learn, what's your multiple intelligence, what part of the brain do I need to develop a little bit more, how do I need to be a little bit more understanding with my teenagers who haven't quite arrived. And so this has been a really good session. You've learned a lot. Make sure you do your personality profile and have those numbers and letters ready for you at the next class, okay? So this has been really fun, and I will look forward to talking to you at the next session.